Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done my last tutorial, and I'd like to take a little bit of time to explain what happened. So my computer had this little problem, so I had to go to the store to get it fixed, and it took about a month to get it fixed because when they returned it, there was something else wrong, so I had to uh, get it to them again. But now it's finally completely fixed. It's working just fine. I had to reinstall Cinema 4D, but now I'm all ready to go, and hence this next tutorial is out today. So a quick refresh. Let's make a cube right now. And so I believe I've had 5 tutorials so far, but in every single one of these tutorials so far, we've been doing everything manually, whether it's moving the cube, scaling it, rotating it, giving the color, rendering it. We've had to add all the components and make it happen by either using the tool or clicking on something to make the cube move or some other stuff. But today will be a little different because today we're going to learn how to make the object move by itself, aka we're going to learn how to animate objects. So today we're just going to, because it's an introduction to the animation side of Cinema 4D, I'm just going to not go too overboard, just animate a yellow cube today. Well, mainly today we'll focus with the animation. So one of the central components, I would say the main ingredient to animation, is this scene right here. This is what I just call the frame bar. And what this frame bar does is you use this frame bar to set different frames for your animation movie. So you see right now, you see the number 0 to 90. And so that means 0 to 90 frames. And so what you can do is you just set individual keyframes, which are basically checkpoints along this frame bar. Frame bar. And once you complete the process, you will have short animated movies that shows your cube moving to the positions you set it to, along with corresponding to the different keyframes. So I will show you what I mean as I start to actually do the animation. Now, this right here is the what I like to call the current bar. Now, the current bar tells you what part of the movie you're on. So right now the current bar is on 0 frames, with the number 0, which means 0 frames, and which is basically the beginning of the movie. Now if I were to drag it along the frame bar, you see that as it is moving to different frames, the cube is doing nothing. Well, there are 2 reasons why this is so. The first reason is because we have not set different positions for the cube to move to for different frames. And the second reason is we have not started the animation process. So now I'm going to tell you how to activate the animation process. There are 2 ways you can activate it. There's this button, which is called auto keying, which sets the keyframes automatically once you drag it to a different frame and position. And there's the manual keyframe, which means you have to click this button every time you set the keyframe and the position. So first, what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna make a little movie showing the cube moving over here, and then back here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is activate the animation process. So there are 2 buttons I can choose from: auto manual keying, or record active objects, or auto keying. I'm gonna choose auto keying this time because it's just a little bit faster. And first I'm gonna click it, and you see the outline of this screen, this perspective view becomes bordered with red. It now has a red border. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to set the position of the cube. I'm going to set the starting position of the cube so that at 0 frames, the beginning of the movie, this is where the cube will be. Now, I've set the starting position. Now I'm going to take this current this current bar, I'm going to drag it to 45 frames. That's halfway through the movie. Now let's make that 30 frames to make the movie more even. I'm going to drag the cube to this position. And so now I've established the positions that the cube will be at 30 frames. This is where the cube will be at 30 frames. And as you can see, you see these little blue bars. They're kind of tiny, but there are these little transparent blue bars at the bottom of the 0 and the 30 frame mark. That I call these checkpoint frames because they mark the position. They mark the frames. They mark the They mark the frames where we have specifically set the position of the cube in the movie. And so every time you set a certain position of the cube at a certain frame, this blue mark will show up. So let's take the current bar and drag it once more to 60. Drag the cube down here. And you see that there's another blue frame that shows up right under the 60. So that's because this is one of the frames where we've specifically established a position for the cube at that frame. And you also see there's like this little blue line following the cube, which basically marks the path of the cube as it goes along in the movie. Last thing we're going to do, one more keyframe. Drag it to 90 frames, the end, and we drag the cube back here. And there's another checkpoint frame right here. And now basically our movie is done because we've already set the keyframes from beginning to end. So now all we have to do is click this button, the play button. We see our cube gradually moving. And as you can see, by 30 frames is over here, 60 frames and 90 frames. So basically that's the basic steps of animation, just setting the individual positions of the keyframes at certain keyframes and basically letting the software do the rest. So all you really have to do is set the points where you want a change in the object, such as maybe set the points where you want it to turn, and then set the frames in which you want it to be at that position, and then just let the animation do the rest. Alright, so you can pause it and play it, or you could drag it, the current bar, to a different position, to a different frame, and play it from there. And now you can turn off auto keying because your movie is basically done. Or just keep playing as long as you want it to. So 90 frames is about 3 seconds. And if you want more frames, we'll go over how to do that in the next video because it takes a bit of time to explain. And so let's delete this for a second. Let's make a new object. Give it the same yellow color. Now I'm going to animate it again using auto keying. So I'm going to do it quickly this time because and you can also rotate it. And so it's the same with rotating. You can just set frames where you want it to rotate, and it'll just do the rotating for you. as for scaling the object through an animation, we'll go over how to do that in the next video, because there's some stuff you have to change for that. I'm not sure why it's actually a different standard for scaling, but that's the way it is in Cinema 4D. So I'll show you how to do it in the next video. Now, if you noticed, while I was playing that movie, the cube was rotating gradually throughout the entire movie from 0 frames to 90 frames. That's because we're using AutoKeying, and what AutoKeying is concerned about the gradual process, gradually getting the cube from the beginning point to the ending point. In fact, one of the only things that you can control with AutoKeying is the movement of the object. With other cases like rotating, it just gradually rotates the object from its beginning state to its ending state throughout the movie. So how do we want, what if we wanted to just make the object rotate only after a certain keyframe? Well, that's where this little thing comes in. Manual keying. Manual keying is a bit different than auto keying. It doesn't, I wouldn't say it takes longer, but a few more clicks is what you have to do. What manual, every time you set a specific keyframe and a specific position, you have to click this button to set the keyframe. That's why it's called manual keying. So I establish the beginning position at 0 frames right here. I click it, and you see that only then does a blue checkpoint appear here. I'm going to drag it to 45, and once again set the position, set the keyframe, and then click it, and then drag the frame bar. Oh yes, there's one more thing I should point out. It's best to drag the frame bar first, so the software knows what frame you're going to set next. Because when you drag the object by itself, when you change the object's position first and then you drag the frame bar, it's going to automatically set the object back to its original location, because the software doesn't yet know what keyframe you're setting it to. So move the frame bar first to the next keyframe and then set the position of the object. I'm also going to make it rotate. Set it again. Now let's click the button again, and now we can play it. And you see only after it reaches this point does it start to rotate. Oh yeah, hold on. Forgot to give it a yellow color. There we go. Also, you can render it as well, but the thing is, you can only render a specific frame in the movie. If you want to render the entire movie, I'll show you how to do it in the next video, because it's somewhat different. How to do it, it's not that hard. In fact, it's basically just one, I'd say a few clicks, but takes a longer time because it has to process the video. So I'll show you how to do it in the next tutorial, which hopefully should be up by tomorrow, since my computer's working right now. Now, let's see. Oh yes. Let's once again. Okay. Now I'm gonna show you how to delete keyframes. So let's say we have this movie, but after making it, you kind of change your mind. You're like, I don't want it to go here then here. I want it to go straight down to the end, like a straight line. So what we can do is we can basically just delete the 45 the 45 keyframe. So I remember when I showed you these checkpoint frames. If you want to delete a certain frame, just click on this tiny blue checkpoint frame. Click on it and you see it turns orange. Then while your mouse is still on the checkpoint frame, press the delete button, and it will automatically disappear. So now let's go back and replay the video or the movie. So now you see the cube does not go here anymore. It goes directly to the end because we deleted the 45 keyframe. It also rotates from 0 to 90 because in the original movie we've made it rotate from 45 frames to 90 frames. But now since the 45 frame isn't there, it just assumes that we want to rotate from 0 to 90 frames because at 90 frames we still made it rotate, so it's rotating gradually now. Now one more thing I would like to show you before this tutorial ends for today. You see, from up to this point, every time we wanted to create a new movie, we had to delete the object. But now first, I'm gonna do everything I did. Right now I'm gonna make a little movie first, and then I'll get to what I'm about to show you next. So, okay, 30. Yeah, sometimes I also make that mistake. I also sometimes move the object first before I move the frame bar. But when you do make that mistake, nothing really, it doesn't really cost you anything. But yeah, something to keep in mind. Just remember to always move the frame bar first. Even I sometimes make that mistake. So that movie, there's something wrong with that movie. Here, I'll go ahead and make a new one. Just give me a second. Okay. Alright. So this is the movie. This is kind of similar to the movie we made earlier. Now up to this point, whenever I wanted to make a new movie, I first deleted the object and made it again from scratch. Now that is very, very inconvenient. Now, so if you do make a whole movie and you realize you screwed up big time somewhere, or maybe you just want to delete all the keyframes but not the object, or delete multiple keyframes, the first thing you can do is just delete the individual keyframes by the method I taught you earlier. But suppose you had about 90 keyframes, maybe one checkpoint frame for each frame here. So every frame here had a checkpoint frame. Deleting all 90 frames could take very long. So what you can do is I'm going to show you how to delete multiple keyframes and maybe just all the keyframes. So this involves a different process. First, you have to go up to here. There's a tab called Window. Click on that, and then now there's a tab. There's a button called Timeline. It's the 7th. When you go to Window, it's the 7th button down. Click on Timeline, and you see this is basically showing us a timeline or diagram of all of our set keyframes. So this is the keyframes of the cube. You see at 30, 60, and 90, there are these little blue rectangles. These are the keyframes we set for the cube. So if we wanted to delete them, we can just first I drag my mouse over here and I click. Hold on a little bit. I think I messed up something. Yeah, there we go. I drag my mouse here and I click, and I click and hold and make a rectangle across all of these keyframes so that I can highlight all the keyframes. And then I just press the delete button and they all disappear. So that's how you can delete multiple keyframes. without deleting the object. I'll show you one more time. Okay, go to Window and then Timeline. If you want to delete all these keyframes, simply drag your mouse over to right before the first keyframe. Click, hold, drag your mouse so you make a highlighting rectangle over all the keyframes. Let go, all the keyframes are highlighted. Press the delete button and all of them will be deleted. So that is it for today's tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll try to keep tomorrow's or whenever next tutorial gets uploaded. I'll try to keep the next tutorial a little shorter. But today was basically a introduction to basic animation on Cinema 4D. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you and have a great day.